What is up, guys? My name is TCG, and today I will be doing my first OP07 video, which is going to be an RP Law deck profile. So this will be one of the few decks that I will be showcasing. Keep in mind, I'm just going to be doing them over a course of period of days until the set is officially released. What I kind of am hoping to do is I'm kind of going to go over the deck lists that I find the most optimal and the most decks that I believe are probably the most consistent and my most preferred decks if I were to build set decks. I'm going to be playing RP Law and Bonnie for most of the set, so I can kind of go into more detail about those. The others are just going to be mainly a bit generic, but it's kind of like my opinion on how I feel like the deck lists are kind of should be, in my opinion, right? So there's in no way these would be the definitive best decks in format for whatever leader, and if I don't actually have the deck built, they will be on the sim. However, for example, the list I'll be showing you today is probably the best iteration I believe Law should be, but you know, that's kind of depends on the player, right? So for example, if I don't run if I don't run fucking Nico Robbins for some reason, that doesn't mean that it's bad. It means that it's something that I don't believe in or I just don't want to play, right? So if you feel like when you look at the final deck list and be like, you know what, I want fucking Robin in this deck, go off king, go off queen, go whatever you go by, you know, the world's your oyster. But yeah, I believe that the deck that I will be showing you today is the best one. So thank you for watching and let's get to the chase. Okay, so had to sort my deck out for a second and let's get started. So I would like to preface that the deck list doesn't really change much in my opinion. We only really add one card, and that's Sanji. The rest of the deck is pretty much the same. You do cut some core cards in terms of numbers. I have decided to go through the route where my apologies. I've decided to go to the route where we basically don't play Nico Robin. Basically the story is I kind of played it in the regional, and I kind of like was told that this the card is basically a dead card in your deck. You already struggle with no counter for most part. There's like a lot of cards which are basically no counter, and the more you have, the more you're gonna see, obviously. And I just really don't want to be in a position where I don't have countered because of cards that are techable and stuff like that, right? So to start us off, you're gonna run a total amount of 6 Gordons. I believe that this is the best number. You don't really want more in terms of the character itself, because then you're going to be in the situation where you're only gonna have these in your hand, or you're just never gonna find them for some fucking reason. So I think that 6 is the optimal number. You don't really need more than 6. I tried 7. It basically feels the same way. I just decided I wanted to do 10 games with 7, 10 games with 6. I saw the same amount. I don't think you should play more than 7. If you're trying to build on a budget, I suggest going with this number and this amount, because you only need 2 Gordons and it's more cost effective for you. Where I don't know if you guys watch from the US, because most of the people that I know are from the US who watch my videos. So in that case, guys, just, you know, you just get 2 Gordons. It's cheaper, it's better, and it's better like money wise, right? So yeah. The next card is I'm not really gonna go over like why you should play Gordon. If you don't know why you're playing Gordon, then I don't really know what to tell you, to be honest. So yeah. Next card is Otama. Otama is your 2K that is kind of a panic button. You only really use her as a 2K, but if you're gonna play it, it's probably gonna be some like really cool combo that I do, is when like they have like a 5k rested, and then they have like another 5k which is like untapped, unrested. Then what you could do is you kind of like Gordon this, Automa this, swing 5 into this, so it creates it a way that you can still swing 5 with this to this, and it's kind of harder for him to swing. You can kind of play these if you play these in your deck, and then you kind of have a swingable body going forward, but we're talking about Automa right now. We'll get into this a bit later on, but yeah, that's kind of the whole shtick of it. But yeah, Automa is really good. I only run 3 of. I feel like 4 is kind of hard to do when you are very restricted, because Law, the deck with Law is a bit kind of generally the same numbers, just maybe every deck like runs the same 3rd cards, right? But it's usually they play around with numbers. In this case, my number for Automa is 3, and I feel like that is an optimal number to kind of run with your Automas. I also checked online. From what I could tell, almost everyone plays 3, so I don't see why you shouldn't. Right. The next 2 cards, which should be the final cards for in terms of power reduction. Just skimming through my deck just so I'm positive in what I'm saying. And yeah, so Fire Fist is pretty amazing. You're gonna go down to 2 life most of the time anyway. Like, you're gonna pretty much always take the first 2 hits in most matchups, if not all of them. So kind of you get full value for this. But so Fire Fist is a minus 4k, which is fucking huge, because his answer is 7k bodies, like ST13 Ace and other big bodies, and you can also kind of like make the swings that much easier. What I like to do a lot is I kind of when you're playing against like black matchups or matchups where they have like a lot of 3k bodies, I usually Gordon one a 3k, so then it becomes a 0 cost. Then use Fire Fist on another, and you pop the 3k with the Fire Fist. And you can also just Fire Fist away like Rebecca or other 0 cost cards that you may have on your board. But I like to play a bit aggressively. Generally speaking, you kind of want to be careful with the cards you spend. The combo I just mentioned, right? It's kind of like a dire situation where you kind of really want to get rid of as much as board as you can. But that's kind of like something you do, which is really cool in my opinion. I really like doing that. I do it more often than I could think of. But yeah, you only run 2 of these. There's no reason why you should run more. It's a nice trigger as well if you hit it. I've only like really triggered it like a handful of times, but it was a lifesaver, that's for sure. But I don't think there's much more merit to running more than 2, if I'm honest. So the next card I run is playset of 4 Kitten Killers. I mean, Kitten Killer is pretty much insane. It's probably, in my opinion, the strongest card in EBO1. It's probably only second to Bonclay, and you also play this in this deck, so make of that as what you will. Kitten Killer is fucking insane. It's a 4 cost, 5k body with Rush, and if your opponent has 2 or less life, it gains 2k when it swings, so it's basically like a Zoro on steroids. You can Tekken Zoros in this list, but I feel like in the OP07 meta now, Zoro is just fucking useless because Sokka's banned, right? And Moria pretty much dies down, and you don't really need to play Zoro nowadays. So I cut my Zoros for Sanjis, but we'll get into that later. There's really not much else to say about the card. The card's pretty insane. But yeah, pretty good card. Definitely love it. I don't think there's anything that you would cut for that if you're on a budget. Kitten Killer is pretty cheap. It's like $1, I think. It's a euro on card markets, or in EU, I guess. So it's pretty cheap here. I don't know. I'm not from Europe, so I mean I'm not from America, so I don't really keep tabs on the prices there. But yeah, definitely a great idea for Kid and Killer. It's a must-have. You really can't function the deck properly without Kid and Killer because it's such an amazing finisher, right? If you have a board state set up good enough, you can, technically speaking, have 7 swings in a turn. There's a lot of instances where I do like 5k, 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 7k, 7k with lead, shambles, play Kid and Killer, and put the rest of the Dawn on the Kid and Killer, and you just like basically swing for 10, 12k for a finisher, and the value is insane on how good it is. Like, I'm pretty sure if you guys keep tabs on my video, I do it pretty often. It's just a very interesting deck. I really love RP Law, and especially coming from someone who only played yellow before exploring the world of RP Law and other non-yellow decks, this is probably one of the most fun decks you probably ever play. That's until OP08, then it gets ruined because Black Mirror ruined the game. Anyway, next card is Sanji. Sanji is a tech card. It is only used for starve matchups, such as Black Yellow Luffy if he decides to go for the starving route, which I don't know why he would, but there's also the starving matchup that NL plays now in this meta, which in my honest opinion, Sanji is the kind of card that you might hard mulligan for. Is just such a good card and helps you so much in this fucking metagame that you kind of have to run Sanji. I pretty much lose all my games if I don't see Sanji against NL, because NL is just that fucking good at what he does now that it looks pretty grim if you don't find it, I'll be honest. But yeah, it's a pretty good card. It's a 2k, it's a 2 cost, so you can play it on turn 2 against NL, immediately take a life, and then you're down to 3. And Gadatsu's basically offline except for Gadatsu. But yeah, pretty good card. Highly suggest you. I am currently running 2 of. I am not finished testing, but 2 of is a very comfortable number to be at. I don't think you should go less. 2 is a pretty safe number, but I'm trying to play more games against NL, and I think maybe 3 may be the move, but it depends on how our metagame will look like, if we'll see NL's period. But yeah. So, next card is Useless Captain Mid. Useless Captain Mid is basically what your deck will function around. You kind of need your kid. If you're going second, which in my opinion you should most of the time want to go second, you can do Kid, Gordon, Shambles, something down, then play Reiju, or you play Shachi, or you play Ein. You play anything except Bonclay, right? If you can help it, try to avoid playing Bonclay before the turn where they play like something big. So if you like play it now, like when your opponent's like 4 down, right, or whatever he might be at, playing Bonclay might be of an int, because if they have spot removal, they might just probably spot removal either your Kid or your Bonclay, or both if you can, especially black decks. So try to avoid playing that. You'd better play off an Ein anyway. Ein is kind of a brick in hand, so why wouldn't you play Ein over that? Plus, do you really need the 1 Dawn if you're already Shambles to play it? So there's never really a good reason why you would play Bonclay over Ein, unless like you need the Dawn. Like if you need to have the Dawn period, then fine, you can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it. I really don't recommend it. It's not really good. Plus you're putting your Bonclay in a position where it can get popped and it sets you back just to get something that Ein or Shachi could do. It's not worth it. Alright, so yep, run 4 of, it's a must. You really can't change this card. This card is not interchangeable at all. You have to run 4 kid and for blocker kids. So next card is Queen. I run 3 of. The reason why I run 3 of is because I lost my 4th copy, but 3 is still a safe number, don't get me wrong. 3 is very much a good number. It's just that I don't have a 4th. I kind of lost it. I don't know what the fuck it is. But yeah, Queen must have. Can't work the deck without it. If you don't have a Kid, you can play a Queen. It's not the same value, but at least you're cycling your hand, right? Because the importance of the deck is you always have drawing cards, so you have your removal, so when he plays something you have an answer for it. Because if you let him build a board fast enough and you don't have a way to clear it, then you're gonna be start setting back and you're gonna have to take a life. Eventually you're gonna be set too far back. If you don't have a way to answer it, chances are you're probably gonna lose. So you need to find a way so you can keep cycling. The idea is that you kind of hover between 4 to 6 dawn, and you can kind of basically always find a way to keep drawing cards, right? So, yeah, pretty good card. I'd say minimum 3. You can try 4, but 3 is where you want to be minimum, right? So, the new addition to the deck is Sanji. Sanji is busted. It's a 6 cost, 6k, 2k counter blocker that you basically, if the number of dawn cards on your field is at least 2 less than the number of your opponent's dawn, this card is played out for 3. It is important to note that it is played out from your hand as 3. If the criteria is still met, like if you're 2 less dawn than your opponent, this card, regardless if it's on play, it is a 6 cost. So you can't, like, it's not even removal, it's only when it's in your hand that costs 3. When you play it, it's a 6 cost. Yeah, but like, this card is insane. It's a blocker, it's a 6k, it's a 2k. There's literally no downside to this card. It's pretty amazing. And I only really play it in the mid to late game. Like mid game going into end game, where you kind of want to start establishing blockers and you kind of want to build up a form of a shield, you know. So yeah, really love the card. Pretty useful, you know, having an extra set of 2Ks. Because now we're on 1, 2, 3 different types of cards that have a 2K counter, excluding the Shachi and Penguin, because then that's the only 2K we have left. Yeah. So, our next blocker is Trafalgar Law. Trafalgar Law is pretty insane. I kind of tech it in. Like, most lists I've seen in this meta don't run this law. I kind of like it though, because against like NL and stuff, and even black decks, you might be able to, even blue decks now, because like when Blue Lofi and Boa come in the meta, and Law really does a good job at chipping away hand size. I've had numerous situations where I even get to double Law NL players, and I still somehow kind of lose, but you know, like ripping 4 cards is no joke, man. But yeah, pretty good card. I'd say tech it in. If you don't want to tech it in and you want to play something else, I recommend playing Promo Law. This card is insane. It's a swingable minus 2k, and you kind of have more power reduction, which is something that is quite good. I just think that I would rather have this law rather than this law. But rather have blocker law instead of promo law, just in case you're kind of listening it to the background. But yeah, pretty good card. Love it. Find it really nice. Also, it's like a blocker, so you know, if push comes to shove, you know, it's right there, and it's pretty convenient. I really like it. I don't think I'll ever remove it in my deck in this kind of meta, but who knows, right? Our final blocker is Shiraya. I don't really need to explain why Shiraya is goated. Shovel Knight, the GOAT. Super good into Black Yellow Luffy. My deck, I've played, like, I think most games I've played now is probably still Black Yellow Luffy, and like sometimes I win on turn 4. That's just how insane. And it's always because like I find like 1 or 2 Shirayas in the game, right? If I find 1 Shiraya and I have like other spot removal, obviously, Shiraya is kind of insane, like especially against Black Yellow Luffy, because if you like Gordon and he only has 1 Sabo and 0 life, you can like Gordon, remove the blocker Sabo. If he only has 1, then you put everything on Shiraya, and that's most of the time gonna be game. But you know, I mean, context applies, right? But most of the time, Shiraya is gonna be our finisher in that fucking matchup. And not to mention, if when you attack, end of turn, end of your opponent's turn, this card is still the same base power that you swung with, so Luffy loses that. but your Shiraya is still a 9k base, or 11k if he kind of like, you know, did the big brain play. But like, yeah, this thing would be very hard to remove in direct context. But now it just dies to OP07 Luffy. But, you know, if he plays OP07 Luffy over anything else, then maybe there's a world where you can win. But I don't know, I just never really give them the time to kind of play anything. I just rushed them down full on, and it's been working. Like, honest to God, when you're playing against Black Hero Luffy, like, fucking full gas that shit. You don't want them to have any form of setup. You just want to hit them and hit them hard, and you keep hitting. So like, if you're gonna go second right, which would be your ideal curve, you just want to go second, okay, play Iron, okay, then from Iron you go play Kid, blocker Kid, play Gordon, bottom deck something, play something else, then keep swinging fives. He'll go down to 0, he shambles out, play Kid and Killer because he's still probably at 5k, and then you rip a shit ton of cards out, play Shiraya if you can, and then it goes kind of mad. But yeah, Shiraya is super important card. You definitely need it. I don't see how you can play the deck without like without Shiraya. But yeah, the next card now we'll go is Reiju. Reiju is unbelievably good. I wouldn't say broken. I would say it's very, very strong in this deck where you need card draw and you're always going to be negative down or behind your opponent, except maybe in the mirror. Drawing 2 cards is absolutely insane. If you're at 4 cards and you Reiju, you're at 5. If you shambles another Reiju, you're at 5 again. So basically it's very probable that you can like draw 5 cards in turn, which is, I guess you could say, very broken. Like, how many Reijus can you see? And well, I can't really defend it. It's like very fucking insane. It's pretty broken. But yeah, definitely a super cool card. I highly advise that you run 4 of. If you really can't or don't have 4, at least play a 4th queen. 4th queen, maybe that's kind of interchangeable, but this is cheatable out with your hero, with your leader power. This isn't, so it's not as good. Because remember, you want to run 4 costs if you can help it, but like there are some cards like 1 and 2 where you need to see it. You need to see it. Okay, but yeah, Reiju's pretty busted. Love Reiju. Probably, I'd say it's probably the strongest card in the deck, without a doubt. Next card is Zorojuro. There are lists that run 3 of. I feel like 3 of is a lot. I don't like having 3 because here's where I'm at, right? If you don't want to play Sanjis, you play the 2 cost 2k Sanjis. Then you're gonna cut him. You're gonna add another 6 cost Sanji and the 3rd Zorojuro, and that's it. I don't think there's anything else you could include. I myself, I fucking hate Nico Robin. I'm never gonna play Nico Robin in this deck ever again. Call it bad experiences, call it whatever you want. I fucking hate Nico Robin. I wouldn't probably never put it again. But if you want to remove the Sanjis, I would still gravitate towards this. I know I mentioned this card a lot, but this card is very, very strong. I just think in my list, there's nothing where you can remove for this card, so you can't really play it. And I don't want to run one-offs if I can help it. But yeah, Zorojuro is, and I mean, probably the best card in your deck if you're gonna go first. If you're gonna go first, right? You're gonna go first. You need to have Zorojuro in your opening hand. You need it. So the argument comes if you really want to see it, you run 3 of, because you're not gonna run 4 of. You don't need 4 of Zoro, right? You don't need it. You don't. There's no world where you run 4 of Zoro. But 2, I see Zorojuro enough to where I'm happy with it. Because if you don't have Zorojuro, you can still play Shiraya turn 2, and it still works, and it still does the job. It's just if you're gonna go first, then you're gonna have Zorojuro. then you can still go to 6 Dawn on turn 3 and you can still do your shenanigans, and most importantly, you fix your curve because you want that even curve. It just helps you that much more. You want to gravitate towards having 4 to 6 Dawn is the most important thing in your deck, operating RP Law, right? You want to always hover in the mid game at least 4 to 6 Dawn. If you have more, that's great, but ideally you want to like gravitate towards the 6 Dawn and stay there. But if you can't really do that, that's fine, but you kind of need to gravitate towards that number, right? And then when you're going to start closing out the game, you kind of want to build more Dawn, so the more you have, the better you can have chances at finishing the game. But super important, you run Zoro. Zoro is a must-have because it fixes your turn 1 play. You're going first play, right? So next card is Ein. Ein is super good for going second. Going second, you can literally just swing 5 play Ein and you're fine, because then you go to 7. And if you're gonna play Ace, which I don't think I have Ace in hand, I can check. So playing Ein is very important. If going second, it just, like I said before, just really helps your Dawn curve. You go from 4 to 5, next turn you go to 7. If you're gonna tech in Ace, because you see there are lists that play Ace, but Ace, if you're gonna play Ace, this is not the list for you. It's gonna work a bit differently, but if you want to play Ace, you have to have Eins, because Ein really helps you kind of like, how do you say it in English? Kind of helps you get to your 7 Dawn faster, and you can play Ace faster. And Ace is kind of insane. Don't get me wrong, Ace is fucking insane. I just don't see it in my list. My list, I don't think Ace is the move. But come to think of it, it may be good against an L. I haven't tried it actually. You know, like, I don't know, maybe. But it's definitely a card you can play. It's definitely a card you can play in this deck. It's totally doable. It's just if you're gonna play this, it's gonna be a lot harder to play than what I have, because you need to kind of pivot around and have this played. If you're gonna see it, you're gonna have to play it, because this thing is very good. And if you don't utilize this in your deck that's meant to utilize this, you're probably gonna, you know, set yourself back, right? But yeah, Ein, super good. I'd say minimum 4 of. You can't run less than 4. I feel like 4 is the perfect number, and it is absolutely insane. And also, like, you can do, if you don't really have a line of play, like if you don't have an Ace, my ideal play is turn 2 you go Ein Shachi, and that way you have two 5k bodies, and you're going to be at the same time that you started your turn with, which is kind of wild. Because then you do Ein, Shambles, play Shachi, you're still at 4 Dawn, next turn you're at 6 Dawn, play Kid, Gordon, get something out, now you have 4 characters on board, and you're probably winning that game if your opponent doesn't really have an answer to anything that you just played. But yeah. So, next card is Bonclay. Bonclay, let me tell you something about Bonclay. I don't know who at Bandai greenlit this fucking card to be the way that it is, but it is fucking insane. Okay? Like, I may be making it sound more broken than it is, but the fact that you can play this, let's say Katakuri, right? Let's say you play this against Katakuri. He's at 8 Dawn, right? If he's at 8 Dawn and I have 2 of these, you bet your fucking ass I'm gonna play this, Shambles, play another one. If he plays, because, you know, knowing the matchup, if he's about 8 Dawn, your opponent's Katakuri is probably gonna be at 2 life, maybe 3, and I already have 2 to 3 bodies on board. If I play these 2, I'm now at 5 bodies. If he plays Imam, he's cooked. Straight up, like, he's cooked. He loses the game. Like, it is so strong that the fact that you can just swing one of your opponent's total base power into your opponent, right, or a character or whatever, it is so stupidly strong that it's almost not fair. If he plays a 10-man, you have 2 12k bodies that you don't even run in your deck. The downside is that it's a 1k at the end of when your opponent is playing. But if you pivot and you have enough like stuff to defend at least one of them, that's value, you know? Like if he has like 12k swings or whatever, right? And you have a way to protect it, that's another 12k swing, and that is wild, okay? Like I'd say minimum 4 of. Minimum 4 of, you can't play less than 4. The deck just needs to see your Bonklays. You have to see them. Like even Uta, right? Uta, if you find a way, okay, so let's say he has an empty board state because you're bottom decking everything, right? And he probably has like what, fucking 12 cards in hand. If you play like 2 of these bad boys, and he's about to drop Kid, and you have a way to bottom deck the blocker that he played with Kid to give the thing, then you know, okay, bottom deck, copy this, attach all the Dawn to it, Bonkley Kid dies, or if you have something like that, you can just swing a base 8 and he has to give you something. That is already more than enough for you, you know, you got your value out of it. Well, there is all I'm obviously mentioning like best case scenarios here, but like even just ramping the Dawn is insane. And not to mention it's an active Dawn, which is kind of wild. But yeah, love Bonkley. Super good card. Minimum 4 of. Minimum 4 of. No doubt in my mind. Right, and our last card is Shachi Penguin. I left this one for last. It's kind of obvious. You have to have this. If you're at 3 Dawn and you play this, you go to 5. And if you shambles it with like Kid, then you get 3 back. And you basically, if you have Kid and you play Shachi, you're negging 0 Dawn. So basically, you used your effect for free, and you got an active Dawn again. And then you kind of got 2 more Dawn with this. If you have multiple Kids on, then you just basically gaining Dawn at the cost of playing a character, which is fucking insane. But you know, those situations are quite rare, and it's not all the time that you're gonna be able to be in a position where you can play more than 1 Kid at a time. You're better off keeping one, because if it's like Raging Tiger or something, he bought it, takes 2 of those, and you're just fucked. You just kind of want to have one of them, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it for the list. I can post the list on the channel, on the description if you guys want, but that is the list. I will now be talking about tech cards that you could potentially include in the deck. I myself am kind of in a state where if I want to tech cards, or if you guys are just gonna play this for your locals and your locals won't have as much NLs, I'd say remove the Sanjis, the 2 cost 2k Sanjis, and just add 2 4-cost promo Banda Compressed Laws. You can also add a 4th Sanji and a 3rd Zorojuro. And if you want to go for maybe and test out if a 7-drop Ace works with the deck, I haven't tried it enough to give my honest opinion for OP07. I like the idea of playing 7-drop Ace. I see the vision. I kind of test when I first started testing RP Law. I did test 7-drop Ace. I liked it. It's just I was too new to playing something that's not yellow for me to actually pull this off every game. So I really can't really give you a proper bias. I see the vision. I fuck with it. I just don't know if it fucks with my deck card enough to actually justify playing Ace. But yeah. If you guys for some reason wanna play your Miss All Sundays, I guess you can. I'm not for it. I really don't like playing it. It feels clunky. If you are gonna have one of them in your hand, if you have nothing else to play, I always just try to think of, oh, you know, this could have been an extra queen, this could have been an extra whatever, right? But if you hit it off the trigger, it can win you games. I can counter argue that, I guess. It is valid. If you hit this off a trigger, it's insane. Even just a card draw, if you're going to play this shit on curve, you're just going to basically get kit effects rested, and then you draw a card, which is kind of good. But man, the amount of games where I've had a 2-card hand, and it was these in my most probably important games of my life playing One Piece so far, I don't want these in my fucking hand. I would much rather have these in my hand. I would rather have these. I would rather have these than have these. And why would I run more no counter when I already have fucking how much? 2, 6, 10, 10 counterless cards. No, 12 counterless cards. I wouldn't be caught dead running 12 counterless cards. I mean, even if you're on number 10, but honestly, the cards you have that are with no counter are just too important. If you were to change anything, I guess you run either 2 Bumper Solas or 2K Sanji, and that's it. That's pretty much it, though. I don't see anything else being amendable or interchangeable, right? So that's pretty much it for the list. I will touch a little bit on the matchups now. If it interests you, I can make a separate video explaining maybe the matchups and what I've gathered so far. In this video, I'll just be going over the most prominent OP07 leaders. So I'll just go over Luchi, over Bonnie, and over Boa. These are based on my group, my team's testing sessions, because we're all testing out OP07 leaders except me. I'm just playing them, and I maybe played like 5 games with Bonnie yet with my team. But yeah. So first up is Rob Luchi. Your ideal hand is but before we get there, Luchi is a very I'd say Luchi is like a 65-35 matchup for you. I'd even argue 55-45. You definitely need to see some good draw. I'm just trying to draft up like the ideal hand I would like to see. There are better hands, right? I'm just trying to give you my 2 cents, right? So, yeah. So Luchi, you wanna go first. You wanna get them down to 2 life as soon as possible, right? The only way you hard lose is if he sacks, if he sees the stage turn 1, and he can kind of string kind of removal on the spot on turn 3, or he sets you far back enough where you can't really do much, right? So the key cards for you to bottom deck against Luchi is going to be basically removal cards, which is kind of standard. So I'd say this is probably the ideal starting hand. Ideal starting hand would probably be this. Where is it? Okay. So your ideal starting hand should look something like this. So this Zorojuro can be interchangeable with Shachi and Penguin. These are just some of the cards that you want to see. If you see all of these, you're goated. You're goated with the sauce, goated with the sticks, goated with anything. I don't know. You're cranking 90s if that's your thing. I don't fucking know. So what you want to do is you want to play your Zorojuro as fast as you can. The scope of playing Zorojuro is not to benefit from it. It's you kind of gauge what's in his hand. Because if he leaves this thing open, you're gonna go from 3 to 6. Go to 3 to 6. You can play this. If he has something that is worth removing, you can play Gordon. You can even just hard cascade, Shambles, play Reiju, and then you draw 2 cards, and you can kind of get that chain going. You want to swing big enough for him to start taking life at least up till 2. Then if you maybe see your Law, if he's in a position where you can kind of maybe try to snipe a Gecko Moria or a Sabo. Ideally you snipe a Sabo. Sabo is fucking disgusting. He can pop anything in our lists, right? This goes for RP Law in general. RP Law just struggles so hard into 8-cost Sabo that sometimes it's game breaking and game losing, like on the spot. If he drops that shit and you don't have an answer for it, you're cooked, like straight up. Yeah, prioritize going first bottom deck on KOs, on play KOs like Luchi and Kaku's. Those are the things that you want to remove the most. Anything else is whatever, right? I don't give a fuck. You can play your Spandines, you can play your fucking your searchers, you can play Khalifas for all I fucking care, but I don't want you to have things that you can bottom deck, because yeah, he trashes pretty fast. Like the amount of times I went to check the deck and it's like 20 cards in deck, he can quickly cycle. So you need to get them out fast, right? And then you need to kind of pivot your way while you're always hovering on 3, 6, because let's think about this, right? Let's say you have like this board state, right? And I don't know, I have like fucking, I don't know. Let's say your opponent's at 8 Dawn, right? 8 Dawn, like some of these. So, I'm just trying to give you a little bit of an example which is somewhat practical. So let's say he has a Luchi on board. That was at the end of your turn, right? He has a Luchi on board and he popped like maybe, I don't know, let's say he popped, realistically he popped these two, right? So he popped those two. Now you're at 6 Dawn. You draw a card. I don't know what the fuck this is. Okay, Reiju. So you're at 6 Dawn. There's not much you could do, right? But let's say you're at, okay, so this is what, 7 cards in hand, right? You're at 6 Dawn, and your opponent is, you probably shambles before, right? And he just Luchi'd you, so now he's behind in Dawn. So what you can do is very simple. You can play your Gordon, so then you go from 7 to 6. Go from 7 to 6. You use your Gordon, whatever. You hardcast Reiju. That's 5 Dawn. You bottom deck. Let's say I drew, I don't fucking know, bro. Like, let me randomize this a bit. One sec. Okay, fucking, I don't know. Okay, so I played Reiju. I drew 2 cards. And now I have a 2K and a Shirai, right? And I bottom deck something, and now I'm at 7 cards. So Reiju may not be in a playable range, but now I'm at 3 Dawn, right? I'm at 3 Dawn. I can just play Shachi, grab 2 Dawn, and I removed the Luchi, and I drew cards, and I kept my Dawn. I only negged 1 Dawn. I played 2 cards, and I removed a key card from his deck. If you can keep up that momentum, Luchi will eventually stop run out of removal. And once he runs and misses 1 single turn of removal, I'd say that's where he starts to lose, if not loses the game. Like the tempo swing on Luchi missing one single turn of removal, or your board state is wide enough where you can just clear the game, it's probably where he starts to lose, because obviously he can't keep up with the swings. Like, he does have a lot of counter, more than most black decks, I would say, but still, like, the amount of times Luchi just bricks is more than I expected, if I'm honest, in my games of testing. But yeah, I think that's the general expectation of what you want to do. What's important in that matchup is you keep your hand size as big as it can. Try to find answers that require the least amount of resources while keeping your board as stable as it can be. It might be hard if he sacks, but most of the time, if he can't really keep up with your trash, with your cards, he probably doesn't have the trash to play Tempest Kick. And if he can't play Tempest Kick, that's huge for him. He can still technically make a Tempest Kick level of effect if he has stage, which makes the matchup harder. But if he doesn't see that stage, man, that game is over before it even fucking started. He needs to see his stage. That's the thing with Luchi. He needs to see his stage against this, or he fucking loses. Okay. I didn't play against Vegapunk yet. Foxy's not a real deck. I refuse to acknowledge it as a real deck. Monkey D. Dragon I have never seen so far, but Boa Hancock. So, Boa Hancock is an interesting one. I feel like Boa Hancock has that kind of a matchup where it's a fucking race. It's not even a fucking race. It's a fucking sprint. Okay? The amount of removal that Boa has, or the stall level of potential, is insane. You need to get her down as much as humanly fast as you can, but you also need to be mindful that your Dawn doesn't get ruined. You still want to keep your 4 to 6 down range. You need to see that. You need to basically get her down to as low life, not even 2 life, as low life as you can before she hits 10 down. Because if she's gonna start stringing those 10 drop Kaidos, it's fucking cooked and it's not gonna fucking come back. If she starts dropping 10 drop Kaido after 10 drop Kaido after 10 drop Kaido, you are not winning that game. There's no way in hell you're gonna win that game the moment the second Kaido hits. So yeah, you need to go first, without a doubt. You need to go first and you need to swing fast, and she needs to take the life fast. You cannot risk a turn where she kind of has the is in a position where she can play to end drop Kaido safely. I would say key cards in this matchup are your Kitten Killers, your Reiju, because you're gonna have to play a lot of cards to keep up momentum. You need your Shachi Penguins. You don't really need Bonclay because Bonclay is bottom deckable, and your laws. Your blocker laws are gonna be super important in this matchup. So sorry, I've been talking a lot. So I would say these are some of the more core cards that you're gonna want in your deck. So there's a very important note that I would like to make. When you play against Boa Hancock, you fully commit to swinging if she has no Dawn active. If she has absolutely 0 Dawn active and you force her to basically play a big body so she can start clearing board, that's where you start winning. You need to take advantage of when she goes to 0 Dawn, because then you need to hit hard and hit fast, right? Because once she hits 6 Dawn, she has Raging Tiger, and she also has access to Boa Hancock. And the reason I say Boa Hancock is that if you're gonna think that you're gonna try to set up your turn, so when she plays Kaido, you're gonna clear board and blah blah blah. She has Boa Hancock, which is 6k, which freezes something and pops a 1k or some shit like that. What? Let me read that shit properly, just so I'm not like memeing or anything. Where is it? Let me find it. I have a keyboard attached for a sec. Boa Hancock is quite the card. I'll show it here, but yeah, Boa Hancock is quite the card. I should have thought ahead. Where the fuck is it? Oh, right. It freezes your Bunkley and it pops a Gordon. So an important thing to note as well, now that we brought this up, is you don't play your fucking Gordons and you leave them there. They're gonna get popped the moment that she hits 6 Dawn, because she wants to play that Boa Hancock Conqueror. Like, are you fucking kidding me? It's a 6 cost 8k, freezes something that's not Luffy, which we don't really care about, and it fucking freezes one card and it KOs your Gordon. You don't have the time to lose a fucking Gordon, because the moment that you're gonna lose a Gordon and it would have been your only Gordon, and you don't have something to answer the Weevil to Jinbei combo, you're fucking cooked. Like, honest to God, like, it's not even recoverable at that point. But yeah, super important. Swing hard, swing fast. Don't waste time. You want to keep a healthy hand size for the 6 down range. This is applicable to all your matchups, but this one I feel like is super important. You want to keep your hand size as healthy and as broad as you can. Ideally, the more spot removal you see for the Boa Hancocks and the more important cards like Weevil. Weevil is a super important card. Jinbei kind of is, but it's more important to remove the card draw rather than anything else. Try to not have more than 5 cards, because some decks do Tekken Pudding, and Pudding is such a strong card. It's not even funny how fucking strong that card is. But yeah, that's probably, the matchup was harder than I expected. It's definitely, I would say, if I have to give it a ratio, I would say the Boa Law matchup is probably very favored. I'd say maybe, it depends on how hard he sacks. I think an average game, let's say he finds 1 Raging Tiger, I'd say the matchup is probably 65% in a loss favor. I'm being generous. I don't really know the numbers off the top of my head, but I do feel like once I learned that it's a race and a sprint, I feel like the matchup did become a lot easier. You never want to stop pressuring. You always want them to keep giving you hand cards. The more hand cards they give, the less cards they have in their hand, the less shit they can play. If you can force them to play the new law, use counter with the law that bounces itself back in their hand, or the thing that the new pudding, the 2K pudding, that is also important, because you know you're forcing them to basically like give up their like hand engine, where they can basically draw a card off your boa effect and stuff like that. So super important. I highly recommend trying to keep swinging, even like weenie numbers. If she has like Dawn active, like swinging 5s is also not bad, but you kind of want to have her take the life as fast as you can. So the last deck I will cover today is Bonnie. So Bonnie is interesting. It's definitely a favored matchup, that's for sure. It's very favored. You kind of want to be in this situation where it's like a face race as well. It's pretty much, I mean, Law's an aggro deck, right? It's gonna do that thing, but like you kind of want to see spot removal or have removal to answer the kid when it drops. At least Fire Fist and maybe swing into it, but it's gonna be hard. You'd rather have like two Gordons, Fire Fist Gordon, something in your hand. Even if, okay, so this is where this would come in. If you feel like you're gonna see a lot more Bonnies, playing Law, promo Law, is going to be super helpful, because you could do Law Gordon and you bottom deck the kid and you get a swingable body. So I mean, you're gonna do enough damage where she will eventually at the start of the game take maybe like 2 life, right? So 2 life, she's down to 3. You do a big swing, she goes down to 2, right? You want to bottom deck Roche. You want to bottom deck Roche. You want to bottom deck Bartholomew. Basically whatever makes her engine fuel. You want to break that shit. So Bonnies, bottom deck if you can, or pop them, whatever. I don't really care what you do. I mean, Bonnies, I can't remember off the top of my head. Bonnie's like, what is what, 0 cost a searcher? Am I really gonna look up a list? Hold on. Yeah, Bonnie's a 1k. Okay, never mind. I thought it's a 0 cost. Okay, I mean, it's 0 drop. So yeah, you want to bottom deck everything that makes her engine run. You want to KO the Bonnie rather than anything. You don't want to really use your leader effect for a Bonnie. I'd much rather you use it on Cavendish. Is really strong. I think the most common card you want to get out as fast as you probably can is going to be Cavendish, because the moment that they're going to play that shit on curve, the moment they play that shit on curve, they're going to play it for 3, and then they have something to, they have enough Dawn left over to use Bonnie effect. So I would say swing first before you play cards, unless you maybe want to bait them, like with you want to play Bonclay, so when you swing they rest Bonclay, and then blah blah blah. The matchup generally feels winnable. The moment you cannot remove 8 cost hit, you lose. If they play down a kid and you cannot remove it the very next turn, and they drop Zoro, you pack up and go home. Like, honestly, like, there's no chance. You cannot win that. The moment they drop Zoro, it's cooked. We never have the counter to do it. He does too much damage. Even if you have 3 blockers, you lost so much tempo that you very, very likely not gonna win. Because then if they play Zoro, the next turn they'll play Hody. If they play a Hody, then they'll rest 2 blockers. They still have 3 Dawn, 9k, 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 10k, 8k Hody swing, probably a kid swing. I don't even need to continue on. The game's cooked. There's the game. The game's cooked. You have nothing else to wait. You can pick up and go on. But yeah, I don't want to provide a lot of information. I feel like this video is going to be longer than I expected already. There are obviously matchups that I haven't gone over, like Black Yellow Luffy. There's also like Moria. There's other decks. There's even Blue Dofi that I can kind of delve into. But if that's something more that you want to hear and something you want to explore more, like the video, leave a subscribe, tell me in the comments, which is super helpful. I want to know, I want your feedback, and yep, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next video.